Hello and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. Now, last episode started playing one of my favorite games, Carrier, the Southwest Pacific Campaign 1942-43 from Victory Games. The old Victory, not to be confused with Victory Point Games, that's two different things. And last episode, I said that I would come back when things started to get sporty. Well, guess what? Things got sporty real quick. I may be in really, really big trouble here. I perhaps should not have put my one task force so far out on the eastern side of the Solomons there, east of Guadalcanal. Kind of in a, if you know anything about the carrier battles from this time period, kind of in a eastern Solomons sort of position. Okay. So, a couple things. Last time I misspoke about the planes. I forgot there's 4 phases in each turn, and you don't really have to worry about launching your next set of scout planes until you're starting to reach the end of those phases to keep the overlap going. So I do have that in the works right now. I've got planes getting ready to be raised here to be launched in the second phase of the 0640 turn. Another thing about placing forces, which I haven't shown on camera yet, if you have a Japanese force that's supposed to appear within 3 hexes of a U.S. air source, then you double check to see whether it showed up or not. And the chances are very slim. On a 10-sided die, it's only 8 through 10, so basically a 30% chance that will happen. But of course it could. You never know. Malfunctions, somebody misses something, cloud fronts. There was a lot of variables back in 1942. So, why am I coming back to you? Well, let me show you why. First of all, let's zoom in up here, because here's where the problem's at. So, good news and bad news. Let's start with the good news. The good news is I figured out this task force here, this enemy force, I should say C4, turned out to be just a medium cruiser force. So, no big deal there. They're not a serious threat to me. They're not an issue. But the problem has been this force here, C10. I just pulled a little bit ago the marker from the cup for phase 1 here with the Japanese activations that go on, which with the number of forces in play I have is 5 markers I'll pull before the US can go ahead and move. And I checked to see, is it a carrier force? So I followed the procedure. So let me show you here what happened. So here's the information here. As you can see, there's my C10 marker. And you can see there's a level 1 carrier, so I did pull that. So, okay, so that means it's a possible carrier strike. Here's where it got really interesting, though. Because when you look at the carrier attack table, for the first couple turns, if you're at a range of 5 hexes or less, it's a +4 modifier. Well, I rolled a 1. Well, 1 + 4 on the carrier attack table, the priority is carrier. So there are Japanese planes inbound on my task force right now, even as we're recording this. So that means Admiral Korchnoi here may get himself relieved faster than he can blink, especially if I lose some of these carriers here. Lord have mercy. Alright, so with this very bad turn of events here, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to work out the airstrike capabilities of a force that you really haven't identified yet. And we'll see how that plays out. And to see how the airstrike goes, for that matter, too. Okay. So, here we go. Alright, so the first thing we got to do is, with the airstrike, and this is printed on the map sheet, too. The key ones are right on here. This is it. Okay, so we're determining the strength of the Japanese attack. Okay, so we are at level 1 or 2. Okay, we have to figure out exactly how much actual strength they have to begin with, and of course that is all here on the charts. So we're looking at the charts where we're having a strike that's being launched here, level 1 and level 2 forces, and the revealed air strength. The revealed air strength is basically telling you and giving you an idea of what exactly is there. You know, how much more striking power could there be? So, for example, if a force you already know has a revealed air strength of 7, that's going to decrease the possibility of a massive strike coming at you, as opposed to what I've got on my hands here, which is a level 1 carrier with 0 revealed air strength. So I have no idea what's here right now. It could be the Shikoku and the Zuikaku. It could be the Junyo and the Honshu. It could be escort carriers. I have no idea what is coming at me, but there is something coming. That much I know for sure based on the carrier strikes. Okay, so I'm going to check here and look and see the modifiers and stuff. No secondary, not a range of 7 to 9 hexes, and not turns 11 or 12. So in other words, it all comes down to the almighty die roll. Here we go. So, the size of the Japanese force coming at me is a 3. So, woo, that is 7 attack points that are coming at my carrier force. When I look at the chart here, and the chart says, and I'll show you. Here, let's make sure, yeah, I'm far enough out. Okay. So basically what I'm doing here right now is I'm working with this chart here, which is right on the bend. That's annoying. But see, there's a level 1 carrier, no attack strength, and I go down here, I rolled a 3, that's a 7. Now the slashes here are 2 waves. That's even worse, because that means you get clobbered and you know another one's coming. But this one here, they're coming with everything they've got. So Nagomo has thrown everything with the Kido Botai at me that he can. Oh, that's one thing too. Well, usually when I play these random generated scenarios, I always basically hypothesize, postulate, however you want to put it, postulate might be a better word, that Midway didn't happen. The Japanese focused on the South Pacific. They focused on trying to sever the supply lines to Australia, which, in my humble opinion, would have given them the best chance of drawing out the American carriers and trying to clobber them and getting that naval victory that they thought they could achieve, and then basically try to do the attrition and bleed the U.S. down, so to speak, into a position where they would want to negotiate. So I have the strength coming in here now, so we know what it is. All right. So with this force C10, and there is in the manual, and you can photocopy these pages. I just prefer to put it on a sheet of paper, but you can see here there's Japanese log. Okay, it tells you what the revealed air strength is. You know, the strength, survivors, losses, what turn they land, that kind of thing. Because that becomes important if the carrier happens to launch another strike while planes are still in the air. Because that, of course, obviously will impact the strength of the second strike. Okay? So the revealed air strength so far of this force is a 7. Alright? So now I have to work out exactly when they will land. Alright, so again, this is pretty straightforward. These are, this is very much like a programmed kind of thing for the AI, if you will. It is, I'll just bump this, whoops, wrong direction. There we go, I'll bump it this direction. So, no, I'll bump it this direction. There we go. So the turn of landing, so let's see. So the Japanese C-10 force is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hexes away from my guys. So 5 hexes away is the following turn. So these guys will come down on turn 3 at 0800 hours. They'll be coming down. So they will land turn 3. Their strength is 7. Then eventually we'll deal with losses and survivors. Okay? Alright. So now we move on to the next part of things. Okay? And again, there's all kinds of charts here for, like, if they lose individuals and stuff, if they're going to do a future strike, until you get the precise intelligence to find out just exactly what is there. There's a lot of guessing here, which again is very cool, because that's basically the way that would have worked. Okay? Alright, so the Japanese now are going to launch their airstrike on me. So I've got 7 points flying towards my carrier, which is very, very bad. That is a lot of points. The good news is, since the last time I saw you, I was able to get a full cap, 8 steps worth of combat air patrol up in the air. So at least I'm ready to meet these guys when they come after me. So let's get this C-10 force here, and we'll put the level 1 carrier underneath. Worst part is, since I haven't even detected them, I can't hit them back anytime soon. That's what I've been holding the Hornet back with, a few hexes behind the Lexington and Saratoga, because basically I'm going to launch heavy strikes with that and basically, you know, try to use that as my clobbering force, my hammer to the anvil of the Lexington and Saratoga. Although obviously I'm going to launch planes from there. I mean, I'm not going to leave all the planes on the deck. But that's one of the trickier things in this, and was one of the trickier things in the war, was how many of the, you know, Dauntless dive bombers you put up as scouts. Because the more you put up, the less you have for striking ability here as well. Okay, let me find the chart here. And again, I mean, this game is very detailed. There's even like turnaround times for forces, you know, as they go ahead and they get, you know, as they come back. The Japanese ones, how much are actually going to be, you know, available. This is a very well thought out system. It is very, very interesting. You know, how everything has been taken care of, so to speak. How it's all been laid out and organized and everything. Okay? Alright. So we don't have to worry about strikes in 2 waves or anything like that. We've got our air value. Just trying to make sure I'm not missing anything here in the strike procedure before I go ahead and deal with all this here. Here we go. Alright. So now we're going to find out if the U.S. has any kind of warning, which basically would let the U.S. put planes up or get them off the flight deck. Well, I don't have anything on the flight decks of the Saratoga or the Lexington, so I don't have to worry about that. So now we'll have combat against my combat air patrols. And basically what I do is I just go ahead and use this yellow and black Japanese die to represent the Japanese. And they've got 7 points that they're ranging up against my cap here. So let's see if I can come up with something pretty good here. So the cap strength of the U.S., the ones that I have here, I have 8 steps that I'm using. The strike size is 7, so the escort modifier is -1, so that's not good. So it means I'm going to have less chance of destroying some steps. So we want a big number, big money, and it's a 4. A 4, it's a 0. 0, 0, 0. Okay, that's not good, because that basically means we didn't shoot anything down. So now we're on to the anti-aircraft table here. Now I can use 8 ships total, their anti-aircraft value, and of course try to see how many of these 7 points I can shoot down. So anti-aircraft values, I'll zoom in here now that the action's on my carriers. And now we're getting into the thick of a fight here. Let me come in just a tiny bit more. There we go. Okay. So I've got my 2 carriers here. The anti-aircraft value is the value that's in the left here. Okay, so like these destroyers have a value of 3. I did put 1 battleship and 1 anti-aircraft cruiser, the CLAs, as they were known. So I get to do 8 altogether. So here we go. I got the 2 carriers. That's 24. So that's 2. 20 points from the battleship Indiana. So 20 and 24, that's 44. 9 more from the Juno is 53. Again, bear with me on my math. Math was never my strong point. So right now I've got 53, and then basically the best I have left for the other 4 is 3 more. So that will be 4 times 3, that's another 12. So 53 and 12 is 65. Is that right? That sounds right. Okay, so I've got 65. Now I got to look for the columns here, and the columns, unfortunately, you have to round down. So I'll have to use the 60 column. There's no modifier per se. Okay, there is an attack modifier depending on how much anti-aircraft fire you can have concentrated here. Let's see. Now let's take a look at the die roll modifiers. +2, because there's 7 plus points attacking me, so that's good. I get a +2 modifier for that. It is U.S. fire October 42 or later. Remember, we're taking place December the 10th, 1942. So that's actually plus 3 more. That's plus 7 altogether. Whew, so that'll be nice. And in this game, a 0 on a 10-sided die is a 10. It's one of the first things I always look at when I find a rule book that's got 10-sided dice. What's the 0 supposed to be? All right, here's hoping for a 10. It's a 3. Grr. Okay, so 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 on the 60. Well, I managed to shoot down 2 altogether. Okay. So the good news is those will be shot down as losses when the Japanese head home. The bad news is, as it says right here, air steps and points shot down by cap are included when determining the strike size modifier. So when we do the actual strike here in a little bit, yeah, that's not going to be good. Okay. Oh, well, what are you going to do? You know? All right. So, and then the retirement index, very basically telling when the Japanese will turn tail and run home, is incremented by half a point. So they lost 2. So basically that's 1 point. But hey, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? Right. Okay, so the Japanese are coming through here. Okay. Now it is 1942. So the value, what they have left, which is a 5, it has an attack value of 5. Okay. So that's going to give them 25 points of attack. Now, that's important because, let me go ahead and zoom back out here. And again, you know, this is a little different than other war games that you might have played because there is a lot of calculation stuff going on here. But once you get used to the system, it works pretty well. So you have to figure out the attack strength. Right now it's 25. So that's going to give the Japanese 2 attacks. 1 without a modifier and 1 with a +1 modifier. Okay, so obviously the Japanese are, since there's only 2 attacks, what are they going to do? Well, that's right, you guessed it. They're going to go after the Lexington and the Saratoga. That's what I would do if I was the Japanese. The only question is who's going to get the +1 modifier on that. Okay. All right. So let's see here. All right. Just checking here to make sure I've got everything calculated out. Okay, so we'll go odd and even. So for the +1 versus the 0. So this will determine who gets the +1 attack. So odd is, which is the first carrier down there? The Saratoga. So Saratoga's odd, Lexington is even. It is the Saratoga. So the Saratoga will get the +1 attack on it. All right. Now, check here all the modifiers. Okay. There's no air attack 1 because the AA didn't do me any good. Or I'm sorry, the AA value. The attack modifier here, we'll start with the Saratoga. That's going to get a +1 attack to it. On it. Target does have a cap. We're not unloading transports. Japanese are ready. If a target has unready, but not ready on its flight deck. Nobody's on the flight deck. Nothing's on the flight deck. Target has units in the servicing box. Whoops, the Saratoga does. So they're actually going to get +2 to their die roll. Alright. +2 to the die roll. Hold on to your butts. Here we go. Whoops. Here we go again. Oh, what do we get? 4. So 4 and 2 is 6. So we check the attack damage table. The attack damage table is a 2. So they got 2 hits on the Saratoga. Alright. My hit markers here. So, bam! 2 hits on the Saratoga. Well, could be worse, right? Could be 3. Alright, so now we're going to do the damage. So here we go, recording the damage. And again, since I made that mistake before, I apologize for the musical interludes, but I want to make sure that I'm getting everything right. Normally what I like to do with games is I like to do like a practice run through and then do a game for you guys. But a game like Carrier, my tongue doesn't want to work. Carrier is so involved and so complicated. It's almost like it's like a vicarious experience. It's like when you're done with it, you're tired. You know, it's not a game that you play like twice in a row right away, unless you get completely blown out of the water. Which, by the way, yes, I know that could happen here to me. So, damage. Here we go. All right. So we've got to check here Saratoga's log sheet. And again, these are pages that can be photocopied out of the back. So the Saratoga is at the light damage stage. So that's not bad. That's actually okay. I can live with that. I can handle that. That's not a big deal. Okay? Alright, so let's see here now. Anti-aircraft value will be reduced. Okay. 2 steps from those boxes are eliminated for every hit suffered in the servicing or flight deck. So actually I lost 4 steps. I lost all these guys that were being serviced. Ouch, that's gonna sting for a victory point calculation, but there's nothing that can be done about that right now. Lost some valuable aircraft. Oh well, that's life. Okay, let's see. So at level L, there's no other things that can happen. When you get to medium damage, heavy damage, or dead in the water, things can get pretty ugly. Okay. Now I got to worry about the flight deck. Okay. So I have an inoperable flight deck. So let me find that marker. Which one is it? Oh, here we go. Flight deck inoperable. Got it. Well, I think I have it. These are small counters. And I'm a big guy with big fingers. Not a good combination, by the way. That's why I love the 5/8 one, I ain't gonna lie. Alright, so. Alright, I get it. I get an inoperable deck. I suffered at least 1 hit. And, let's see. U.S. carrier receives an inoperable deck marker at the end of an attack or surface combat if carriers just received at least 1 hit. That's true. And the damage is M or higher. So actually it's not higher than M. So that's actually good. Okay. So I don't have to worry about the flight deck not being inoperative. Okay. So we did take some damage. We took some hits. But good news is the flight deck is not closed. Because it was only light damage for the Saratoga. The Saratoga being one of the older aircraft carriers, so aka one of the sturdier ones that there is here. Okay, and then eventually, of course, we will basically try to repair all the damage that's going on there as we go. There's also a critical damage result that you can roll on this thing too, to basically show that, you know, like the idea of like Coral Sea when the gas fumes got to the Lexington and basically blew it apart. Well, not blew it apart literally, but basically sunk it, so to speak. Okay. All right. So that actually worked out okay. So that's the good news. Now there's the second attack on the Lexington. Speaking of the Lady Lex, and with this time, unfortunately, dang, the Lexington also has planes in their service deck, but it's only a +1, so that's good news. So here we go. Ouch. It's a 7 this time. +1 is an 8. That's 3 hits on the Lexington. So as we already know from before, that's going to destroy the steps in the servicing area. That's unfortunate. Okay. And let's see. 3 hits on the Lady Lex. How much damage will that lead to a flight deck close? My guess is going to be yes. Yep. That's medium damage. Okay. So the Lady Lex has taken 3 shots, and she does have her flight deck inoperable, so that's bad. We're going to have to work on trying to fix that ASAP. So there's a Lexington with her inoperable marker and her 3 damage points. Okay, so the Japanese lost 2 planes, but there are 5 survivors. that are heading back, but they will not be able to land until turn 3. So that was a rather nasty surprise, unfortunately. And unfortunately also at this point I really don't have the ability to launch an airstrike because, again, strictly speaking, I mean, obviously looking at the map I know exactly where it came from, but again, putting yourself in the shoes of the carrier commander right now, if this was, you know, real life, I would basically be going, where the devil did that come from? And I'd be frantically trying to figure out what happened. Okay? So, any extra damage? Let's check here. Is there anything else with the flight decks and stuff with medium damage? Let me just make sure about this. See if there's anything else that I need to be concerned with here. Yeah, just the flight deck is now knocked out. So I'm going to have to work on fixing the flight deck. So until the flight deck is fixed, I can't launch any planes from the Lady Lex. Okay, well, could have been worse. I could have had both carriers down. But I do know it is a carrier force there, so quite frankly, I think what I'm going to be doing here when it's my half of the turn, I'm going to be getting ready to launch the airstrike from the Hornet, but it actually won't be ready until next phase to do so. Alright, so that gives you an idea of how that works with an airstrike there from the Japanese perspective. Okay, the U.S. has steps and things on their airplanes. We'll get to that in a little bit. So let me go ahead and finish off the Japanese here at this point. So, oh wait, I need to finish off C-10 here because they are, they do have their movement that they can do yet. 2, which mission movement was a 2, but they're within 5 hexes, so they will actually try to close on the U.S. carrier. Unfortunately, my search planes have not already flown, otherwise they could have been searching again and try to pick them up as they moved. So, to quote the dude, that's a bummer, man. Okay. Nothing else to do. Can't search during the Japanese move because my guys have not been used. They're not out there yet. Yeah. So we'll search during my turn. But I'm going to go ahead. I don't know what's there, but 7 points is pretty big in this game. So I'm going to get the Hornet cranked up. And I'm going to get ready to launch an airstrike and try to hit whatever is there. But we need to finish off this phase because the Japanese, you draw 5 markers. Kind of hoping one of them will be a PBY just to show you how that works. But no, our next marker is C-18. So where is force C-18 at? C-18 is way up here. Okay. Now, let's see. Well, first we have to see. Could it be a carrier force? Well, I drew a dummy marker, so no. It cannot be a carrier force. Okay, so now they will follow the mission movement die roll, which is a 2. So what they're going to do is they're going to move in here with task force or with combat group 17, and whoops, I'm sorry, I have the wrong one. That's 16. 16 and 18. It's another problem of getting old. Your eyes start to go. Okay, let's try this again. So same thing. We didn't draw that. It's still a dummy one. So they're actually going to close in towards my position, whatever they are, whether it's the surface units coming around maybe to think they're going to finish off what's left, or it's another carrier force. For all I know, it could be, because remember, again, I've postulated no midway. So what that means is that, technically speaking, the Japanese have the Akagi, the Kaga, the Soryu, and Hiryu available to clobber my Dupa. So yeah, I may be up on sanitary waters without proper means of propelling myself forward here pretty soon. And the last marker for this phase, it's a Japanese transport. So transport number 1. Transport number 1 is in this shallow water here. Now they are within 8 spaces of an active airspace, aka Henderson Field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now we have to add 3 to the mission movement die roll, which is a 5. Okay. So Just looking at the chart, and again, over here, there's two nice charts that summarize the most important and biggest and most frequently used rules. So just keep that in mind here. So let's just go ahead and read this here. All right, so transport. Mission plus 3, so that's a 5. If the die roll is greater than the distance to the air source, then it cannot move. Well, 5 is not greater than 7, so this transport force is actually going to move in, and they're headed for here, the other end of Guadalcanal, where the Tokyo Express was dropping people off left and right like it was a subway stop. Alright, so, not so good. Let's go to the U.S. side here. Alright, I don't have any air move step to do. Air operations. Can't launch anything, especially from the Lexington, so that's a problem. Okay. Raise, yes, I'm going to raise these planes that I was cranking up, and I can only raise 8, so I'm cranking up 8 steps here. 2 steps of fighters to protect this strike, and then 4 steps of Dauntless dive bombers and 2 of the TBF, because since this is December 1942, the Avenger torpedo planes are available, which is awesome. So I raised them up. Let's see. With the Saratoga, I've got so many planes up. See, that's another problem. Most of my dive bombers that are on search patterns were from the Saratoga. But I also need to keep that search pattern up. So I'm going to go ahead and swing those guys into the servicing hold here. Because I can't, I'm on service step right now. I have to keep the overlapping, because the problem is if you don't overlap, then you can't search, and if the Japanese are moving towards you, you're going to miss them, is basically what happens with all of that. Okay, nothing to lower, because nobody's on the flight deck ready to roll. Land units in the box, nope. Time aloft, nope. Strikes to the landing box, nope. Task force movement step. I am going to go ahead and move the Hornet forward 1 step. I know it's a little risky, but I want to get my planes there faster if I can help it. Air search step. Alright, so now I can go ahead and use these 4 steps of Dauntless dive bombers from Task Force 18 and see what I can find out, if anything, about some of these forces. So let me go ahead and go with C10 first and see what I can find here. Let's take a look at all the modifiers that are part of the air search table here. Okay, so let's see. Basically, there's no modifiers. It's just a die roll. So, the lower, the better, because that will help you increase intelligence, help you get the information that you need. So basically, I'm looking for a 3 or less here. But anything is good right now, because I need to locate this force before I can launch that strike. I know I put all those planes on the Hornets deck, but I'm kind of gambling that I'm going to be able to find these guys. So here we go. No! I rolled a 9, which means I didn't find them. Which means I've got all these planes on the Hornets deck with no place to go. Alright, let's try and see this small cruiser force here. Oh, that's even worse. It's a 10. So I can't find anything out about them anymore either. Okay. Well, that was kind of a bust. And since the Japanese C-10 force has already been activated, I won't even have a chance for them to move towards me to try and search them again. Alright, let's try and use the boys at Guadalcanal here. Searching at 4 to 7 hexes out. Well, the one thing they can do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The one thing they can do is they can try to find out what's up with this transport spot here. So again, there's going to be no modifier. And they rolled a 7. Alright. So, if it's a level 0 force, they will receive a chip, which means at this point, they also could be found out to be a dummy. But it's not. Okay, so they have been searched, and it turns out they are a level 1 transport. Okay. So now I'm going to put a search marker on them. which has two sides. There's a located and a question mark. Question mark, of course, is not as good as located because question mark is basically an approximate location. The good news is with a question mark, you could launch an airstrike, but I'm not going to worry about those transports right now. Transports are hard to get close to an air source that's operative, so I'm not really super worried about it. What I need to be more worried about is, are there any other carrier forces that are going to be striking the island before I can get anything else close? Okay, well, alright. So that was my air search step. Airstrike, I don't have any. Okay, carrier repair. So now I can try to fix my two carriers. Okay, so let me find the carrier repair table. Musical interlude. Off we go. Oh, that's Air Force song. No, I can't use that one. The Marines aren't really involved in this right now. Well, they're on Guadalcanal. You know what? Yeah, the Marines are holding Henderson Field. From the halls of Montezuma. Okay, sorry about that. So the repair table. Here we go. We'll start with the Saratoga, the light damage. And I will get +1 because it's December, improved repair. Alright, 9 and 1 is a 10. So, guess what? The Saratoga has basically lost everything. Although, if I remember correctly, we can't reduce past... I think the lowest you can get is down to a 1. You can't reduce it past a 1. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. Let me just double check and make sure. Because again, you know, I know I fumbled a little bit on the first one, so I just want to make sure. Okay, the results of repair rolls made for carriers at level L never cause its damage level to be adjusted. They only apply towards repairing the flight deck damage, which is below. Okay, so there's a design note that comes here as well too. All right. One hit, carry damages. So, okay. So, the 2 light points of damage I got on this bad boy, I really can't fix it any further than that, it looks like. Yeah, the results never cause the level carries at level L damage level to be adjusted. Okay, so alright, so we'll use that die roll, which was a 9 for the Lexington, which is good because that means the Lexington will lose 2 points worth, and that is good because that is going to fix the flight deck completely, I think. Reduce the damage. Let me just make sure. Okay, flight deck. Each point of damage erased. Mark it from 2 to 1, and then. All right. So the damage to the Lexington will go back down to a level L damage. So that's the good news. So I'll take it all the way down to 1 point of damage again from its 3 points. So Lexington and Saratoga are both going to have 1 point of damage. But the really good news is the flight deck is fixed. And if you're wondering how I got fixed so fast, it took me a long time to discover this. I did not realize it until like studying after some time. The flight decks were wooden. They weren't metal. So like when the Yorktown went back to Pearl Harbor and got fixed in time for Midway, I always wondered, it's like, dude, how they fix that? Like in whatever it was, 72 hours, I believe, if I remember correctly. And the answer, it was a wooden flight deck. So much easier to fix than if you got to, fix metal and do all that stuff, welding and things. So that's the answer to that. Okay. All right. So, bad news. I did not locate Force C-10. So now I have a decision to make, because those ones on the Hornet, what I could do is I could launch those planes, but they're not going to be anywhere near close enough to search. Ugh. This is frustrating. I've got myself in a very bad pickle here, I think. So we're ready to move on to phase 2 with the Japanese and their mission movement die roll. Alright, so this has gone very, very badly so far for me. Okay, well, could be worse, right? Could be raining, to quote young Frankenstein. Yeah. Okay, so Admiral Korchnoi got his back to the wall now. I've got 2 damaged carriers. I've lost 8 steps worth of aircraft, some dive bombers, and some fighter planes, which is not good. And now I've got unknown size of Japanese carriers that have to be dealt with in the near future. So, yeah, I'm between the proverbial rock and a hard place right now. Okay. Well, so this video gives you an idea how the Japanese assaults go. You got to see some repair work. Got to also see some searching things going on. So it gives you quite a bit of flavor. And you know what I'll do is, excuse me, what I think I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll do one more video of this, and the video I'll do will be whenever I launch U.S. strikes, so you can see how the U.S. strike is calculated, how it works out, that kind of thing, and then I'll probably call it a day on this set of videos on this game for Carrier, which again is a blast, because right now I'm sweating. I don't know what to do. I cannot believe I could not find that C-10 force. Oh, it's a carrier force. What are my search planes doing? What are my boys doing? Whew. So, alright. We gotta make lemonade out of these lemons, because the flight deck's fixed on the Lexington. So, hey, look at the bright side. The repair crews did a bang-up job, so to speak. No pun intended. Alright. So, this is Admiral Korchnoi, still in a very tight spot. Saying thanks for watching here, the Bare Bones Wargaming channel, and I'll come back to you with one more video on this whenever I manage to get a U.S. airstrike into the air, which, if I want to survive both professionally and literally, I need to find that carrier task force in a freaking hurry. It's only turn 2. Should not have put my task force that far up. I should have held back a little bit, but I decided to play a little aggressive. Got a little Bill Halsey in me that time. Sometimes you eat the bear, sometimes the bear eats you, and sometimes the bear gnaws on your bones. And right now my bones got a lot of teeth marks on them. Alright, so we'll see if the IJN will have my hide here or not in the future. So thanks for watching. I'll be back with one more video to show a U.S. airstrike if and when it happens. If I don't get a U.S. airstrike up and I get completely clobbered, I will come back with a video just to kind of sum up Carrier, although I think you probably know how I feel about the game at this point. So, thanks for watching. See you next time.